All right, let's look at this video I just found called Don't Use Audacity to Edit Your Podcast. There are better free DAWs for podcast editing. So that's interesting. I recommend Audacity for beginners because it is free and it's available cross-platform Windows and Mac, and it works great, has tons of plugins, and they are constantly making updates and stuff like that. So let's take a look and see why we shouldn't be using it.
Hey Veronica, what are you doing? Is that Audacity? How could you? How could you?
What? I'm sorry.
Hey, welcome to the Pod Sound School. I'm Studio Steve. I'm an audio engineer.
What's up, Steve? I've never heard of the Pod Sound School, but it's seems like a pretty big channel with some good info, so excited to check this out.
Podcast producer, all-around content creation nerd, and on our channel every week we post videos to help you take your online content and your podcast to the next level. So in today's video, I am going to stop the misinformation and try to stop the spread that you see here on YouTube and blogging and all over the interwebs.
Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry.
Telling people to use Audacity to edit their podcasts. Now, if you are someone who does use Audacity to edit your podcast and you've been doing it for a really long time and you're finding yourself getting offended, don't just hear me out. This is going to be some really good information for you. And if you're somebody that is brand new to creating podcasts and you're looking for a good editing solution, avoid Audacity. There are way better solutions. And there's one.
Is it just you, or is there a lot of motion? I'm getting kind of dizzy watching all the zooms and motion going on, but that's a side point.
Really great solution that I'm going to recommend in this video. So why should you not use Audacity? Well, first, let's answer why are so many people using Audacity and why is everybody telling everybody to use Audacity? And that's for the one reason that Audacity is really cool, and that is that it's free. But that's not really that good of a reason because there are other free solutions that are even better. So there are many reasons not to use Audacity to edit your podcast. But in my mind, there are two big ones. And one really big one deal breaker. And that is that Audacity does something called destructive recording. Destructive recording means that once you save your project.
Yeah, I've known about this, and it is pretty big downside. He'll obviously explain it here in a second, but it's just one of those things that you deal with if you want something free. But they actually have either fixed this or are just about to fix this. I think it's already been changed. So they no longer have destructive recording and editing.
And then close out of Audacity and come back into it again. All of those edits that you made to your project have now become permanent. So let's say that you accidentally cut out a sentence, or that you were too aggressive with where you decided to cut in or out of something, right? You cut out a breath or in the middle of a word, and you didn't notice that until you were listening to your podcast later and you're like, oh no, I want to go back and fix that. Well, too bad, you were using a destructive recording editing software. And then the other reason, number two, that Audacity is a pain in the ribs is because thousands of users have reported that it is constantly crashing on them, that there are tons of workarounds that they have to do, that they're basically sitting and praying sometimes when their project is rendering. So with that, basically we're saying.
So I haven't got a lot of complaints. I mean, I tell tens of thousands of people to use Audacity, and I haven't had those same issues. But I mean, they're clearly out there, so that's good to be aware of. It is a free software, so you kind of get what you pay for in a sense. But even paid for programs can have issues, can crash. I use Logic, and there's times where it will crash or have issues, but probably less often than Audacity. But you just kind of get what you pay for sometimes.
Saying that it is inefficient or that it's not a good solution if you're looking for productivity and speed. Now, if you've been using Audacity for years, you've probably found all those workarounds and gotten really fast at it. But if you spent even a fraction of that time that you spent building workarounds and a workflow that works for you in Audacity toward a better DAW or audio editing solution, you would be rocket fast, and chances are that your podcast would even sound better than it does in Audacity. So that's it. And despite my own personal opinion of Audacity, like when I open it up and actually edit in there to try it out, it's very clunky, and I just don't think that the interface is very intuitive.
I will say that it looks really dated. I mean, this looks like Windows 98 or something. So I definitely could use some upgrades there. I think they have done a few, but yeah, definitely not the prettiest thing. I definitely agree there.
But all those things really come down to my taste. The two things that I mentioned, destructive recording and time wasting, those are big deal breakers. And I really want you to take the editing for your podcast very seriously. And if editing is going to stay fun, if it's going to be something that we can stay excited and enthusiastic about episode by episode by episode by episode, then it needs to be.
Yeah, so I think that really depends. I think a lot of people, especially beginners, just want to do some basic edits. At least that's what I would recommend. Kind of trim up the beginning and end, maybe add some intros or whatever, and maybe it's an ad spot or an affiliate promotion or something, a little bit of music, but nothing overly complicated. I wouldn't spend a ton of time editing. So I think Audacity is perfectly fine, more than capable, and wouldn't slow you down if you're just doing those basic things. I think it's when you start getting into more advanced edits and chaining different things, and really, if you're doing this as your profession, you're not going to use Audacity. You're going to use something a little better. So I think you kind of have to align the program with your abilities in that sense.
Something that is fast and efficient. So for that, there are many better solutions. But the solution that I'm going to recommend, I think, is the best all-around solution for independent and professional podcasters is Reaper. And you can find out more about Reaper by going to Reaper.
So my understanding is that Reaper is $60, which is really cheap for an awesome software. So I definitely recommend that. You'll get a lot more functionality, and obviously, it's being recommended here, and I have recommended it myself. But he says there are better free DAWs, and I wasn't aware that it was free. Maybe there's a trial. We'll check it out.
Reaper.fm. We are not affiliates of Reaper. I've tried to be, but I can't get a hold of the company, so I don't know how we can become affiliates. But Reaper is amazing. It's 100% customizable. It is non-destructive recording, so you can always go back and edit and find things that you may have cut out. It is completely upgradable. It comes with hundreds of really great sounding plugins right out of the box, and it's actually free. Now, Reaper says that it's free for 60 days, and then Reaper will ask you for a one-time $60 after that 60-day trial. But many people report never paying that $60, and they stay on what's called an evaluation.
That sounds like a little bit of a workaround. I mean, sure, you can try it out for free, but if you're using this software to produce a podcast, I would pay them. Don't try to be a freeloader, I guess. And if you're using it for a business or something like that, just pay the $60. Simple as that.
License. So every time they open up Reaper, it says, "Hey, are you ready to buy Reaper yet?" And they say, "Nope, still evaluating," and they just do that for their whole life. But I think that it's worth $60. It's worth hundreds of dollars. And so I would always encourage people to pay that $60. That's part of how.
That's good to hear. I'm glad that we're on the same page there.
Reaper is able to make so many great updates. It's constantly updated. It's a very robust, great DAW. And if you want to get started in Reaper, you can go to Reaper FM right now to download it. I also do have a free ebook that is an introduction to Reaper for podcast editors. And it just kind of goes through the basics, making sense of the interface when you first open it up, how to record, some of the basic editing functions, and some of the quick keys that you'll need to know to get working in Reaper right off the bat. And you can download that free ebook. I'll leave the description in the description box below, right where you're watching this video. So, if you are an Audacity person, I am sorry if I offended you, but please take some time. Give Reaper a try. That way you can't make the, well, Audacity's free and you can't get better than that excuse anymore. Because It is worth your time and your effort to get into a DAW solution that's going to be more efficient for you. And hey, stop.
So yeah, I definitely agree. I usually recommend people use Audacity or GarageBand, depending on what operating system you're on, just because it's free and it reduces that barrier to entry, lets you get started, and you can um, use them, learn, and then down the line, once you're 10, 20, 50 episodes in, go ahead and try out some different softwares and see what you like. A lot of them have trials, and I use Logic. I used GarageBand for the longest time. If you're on a Mac, I Reaper is a great one because it's doesn't cost a ton. If you're just doing podcast editing and you don't want to do anything with music, Hindenburg is a great one. It's got a ton of integrations with podcast hosting platforms, and it's really designed for a spoken word podcast and editing around that. So the workflow is quite a bit different than your standard DAWs, but that's Hindenburg if you want to check that one out too.
Spreading the lie. Help out your fellow Podski and tell them, hey, do not edit in Audacity. And I will be very, very happy that you did. Thank you for tuning in on this video today. Remember to grab your free.
Cool. Thank you, Pod Sounds Cool, for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.